Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Bennett Tchaikovsky, the accounting professor here. We're going to be back today here with part two, where we're going to be going through periodic FIFO, LIFO, and weighted average. This presentation is copyright myself, Bennett Tchaikovsky, also known as the accounting professor here, not the, but accounting professor here on YouTube. 2008 to 2024 by Bennett Tchaikovsky. All rights are reserved. Any redistribution is expressly prohibited without my prior written consent. Opinions expressed herein are mine only and not my college or Irvine Valley College or the South Orange County Community College District. Let's go ahead and kind of come over here. So we're just going to kind of duplicate this. And now let's go through ICA 2 part we'll call this 2.1. Okay. So now, when we're going through and doing these, where we're now going to basically focus on right now are the periodic methods in terms of going through and figuring out LIFO, FIFO periodic. We're going to figure out LIFO periodic. And then we're going to figure out weighted average periodic. Okay, those are the three that we're going to be focusing on right now. Now, as I go through and remember from part one of this video, very, very important, the first thing I have to go through and do is compute the constants, the goods available for sale, meaning what was my beginning inventory plus my purchases. This is giving me goods available for sale. This is going to be the same in every single one of these, right? Coming over here. Next one, units available for sale. Every single one of these questions, my units AFS available for sale are going to be 68,000. I sold 51,000 units. This is also always going to be the same. Lastly, I have my units in my ending inventory, which will always be 17,000. These are going to be the same for every single one of these questions. So when I say these kinds of things, that's what we're going through and doing. Okay. Now with FIFO periodic, let's just kind of remind ourselves of what periodic means, right? Periodic is we are assuming that all sales are taking place at the very end of the accounting period. We disregard any individual sale dates and we assume that everything was sold at the end of the period. And right here, what does FIFO mean? FIFO basically means the first goods in are the first goods out or expense to cost of goods sold. So let's go through and take a look over here at FIFO periodic. Okay. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break and we'll come back to FIFO periodic. Okay, so going to FIFO periodic, we need to take 51,000 units to cost of goods sold. And right over here, and my total goods available for sale under FIFO periodic, it's going to be 994,000. And also my ending inventory in units will be 17,000. So this is what I have to go through and do. So FIFO, first in, first out with periodic, we assume all sales took place on 11/30/29. They all take place at the very end of the month. So FIFO, first in, first out. So 51,000 units to cost of goods sold. Where do I start? First in, first out. So I'm going to basically first start over here with my beginning inventory. The beginning inventory, I had over here 10,000 units at $10 per unit for a total of 10,000 times 10 or $100,000. Okay. Once I take these units out of my Basically, once I assign these to cost of goods sold, they are no longer in my inventory. So I'm going to go through and remove these, right? So they're gone. Let's go to the next one. Okay, I still need 51,000 units. I have 10,000 so far. Go to the next date of purchase or 11/3/29. This was a purchase. And here I have 16,000 units at $12 per unit. Over here, this is going to give me a total of 192,000. Okay. So got over here 16,000 units at 12. Once I take these away from goods available for sale and I'm assigning these to cost of goods sold, right? I need to remove it from my inventory, right? So these 16,000 units are going to be gone, right? Those are out. Now I come down over here. Am I done yet? No, I only have 26,000 units so far. I need a total of 51,000. Now let's go to the next one. Our next date of purchase is 11/5/29. So on 11/5/29, I had another purchase. My purchase over here was for 14,000 units. And my per unit on the 14,000 was $14 per unit for a total of 196. Now, in terms of units, I've got a total of 40,000 so far, right? I've taken this 14,000 over here, right? So there was 10,000 units here in my beginning inventory, then 16, then 14, right? That's how we were getting to the 68, but I only need 51,000 units. So here on this 20,000, if I took all 20,000 units, this would give me 60,000 units going to cost of goods sold. I don't need that many. So I'm only going to take what I need, which is going to be 11,000 units. Because remember, I'm basically taking what I need over here, purchase on 11/12/29, 11,000 units at 1650. And over here, I get 181,500 as the amount that I'm taking to cost of goods sold. So again, now with this 20,000, I took 11,000. So 20,000 minus 11,000. That means I'm going to have 9,000 units remaining from this purchase, right? Because I expensed the other 11,000. So now I have a total of 51,000. So coming over here, I have a total cost of goods sold under FIFO periodic of 669,500, right? So this is going to be my total cost of goods sold under FIFO periodic. Now, when I come over here and I'm saying, okay, if my cost of goods sold is 669,500 and my total goods available for sale is 994, then my ending inventory must be my goods available for sale minus my cost of goods sold of 669,500 or 324,500 for my ending inventory. Now, let's think about this. The units in my ending inventory should be 17,000. And after removing the inventory, I have 17,000 units left. My ending inventory value is going to be from 11/12/29. My purchase remaining is 9,000 units at 1650. On 11/27/29, I have my final purchase of what's remaining, 8,000 units at 22. So coming over here and looking at this, my total of ending inventory value is going to be 324.5. Now, do you need to do this in these questions? And the answer is absolutely not, because once you have the goods available for sale, which is going to be the same in every single one of these questions, and I subtract my cost of goods sold from that, I'm going to get the value of the ending inventory. Remember the importance of these relationships, right? Goods available for sale minus cost of goods sold, which is going off to COGS, gives me my ending inventory, right? So coming over here, also 51,000 units to COGS. We took care of that. Goods available for sale was 994. Ending inventory in terms of units is 17. And then basically we're using periodic. So that was FIFO. The first goods in are the first out, or the first expense to cost of goods sold. So that would be my answer for FIFO periodic. Let's take a look at LIFO periodic, and we'll go through and do the same thing. So coming over here for LIFO periodic, right? We have the kind of the same thing, basically the same assumptions. Basically over here, LIFO periodic, 51,000 units to cost of goods sold, right? Also over here, very, very important. What does LIFO mean? Means that basically the last goods in are the first ones expensed to cost of goods sold. And this is why IFRS will never converge with generally accepted accounting principles, because we don't want to give up LIFO here in the US. So LIFO, last goods in are the first goods out, or expense to cost of goods sold. Let's go through and do LIFO periodic. So we're assuming all sales took place on 11/30/29. I need to take 51,000 units to cost of goods sold for LIFO periodic. Okay, so I need to take 51,000 units to LIFO periodic. So how do I go through and do this? Well, the last goods in are going to be the first ones out. So my date over here is going to be 11/27/29. This was a purchase. This was in terms of units. This was 8,000 at 22 per unit. When I multiply this through, this is going to give me 176. Okay, I should keep this at 2. Okay, so once I take this 8,000 units, I have to ask myself the question, am I done yet? Okay. And my video just went out. Hold on. Video's back on, but the internet connection's unstable. Thank you, Spectrum. We're on the Spectrum today. So coming right over here, once I've taken that to cost of goods sold, this is now going to go down to 0, right? Now, go down to my next date. I go basically last in, first out. Go to my next purchase. This is going to be on 11/12/29. This is a purchase of 20,000 units at 1650 per unit for a total of 330,000. Once I've taken it to cost of goods sold, I have to remove it from my inventory. So this is going to go to 0, right? Am I done yet? No, the answer is I only have 28,000 units so far that have been expensed to cost of goods sold. I need to get to 51. So right over here, I'm going to go to my next purchase, the next previous purchase on 11/5/29. Okay, I've got a purchase here of 14,000, right? Coming over here, 14,000 at $14 for a total over here of 196. Now, as I look at this, I've got a total of 42,000. I need 51,000. So I just took this 14. Now, if I come over here to 11/3, the purchase, if I take all 16,000 units, I have a problem. The problem is I will have overexpensed my cost of goods sold. I only want to take what I need. So in this case over here, I'm going to take a total of 9,000 units because that's all I need to do to take to cost of goods sold. And this is going to be at 12, sorry, this is going to be at $12 per unit for a total of 108,000. Now, very important. If I'm expensing 9,000 units, that means 16,000 minus 9,000. I'm going to be left with 7,000 units in total. That's what I'm going to be left with. So I come down over here, got a total of 51,000 units. That's how many I needed to take to cost of goods sold. Over here, the total amount I took to cost of goods sold is 810,000. So LIFO periodic, remember, last in, first out, right? Last goods in, first goods expense to cost of goods sold. So I've got 810,000 coming in for LIFO periodic. Okay. Now, my ending inventory, right? Easy to do. My goods available for sale minus my cost of goods sold means it's 184. 184 plus 810 gives me 994. Now I come over here and I look at this and say, well, is that correct? Well, my ending inventory, I had 17,000 units. What's remaining? Well, on 11/3/29 from that purchase, I had 7,000 units at $12 per unit for a total of 84,000, right? This is what's remaining in my inventory. This is my ending inventory after I made all those sales. Then on 1/1/29, my beginning inventory of 10,000 units at $10 per unit, this is going to be 100,000. Next, so this over here is at 184. So my total value of my ending inventory is going to be 184,000. Now, when we look at this type of question, right? The other way, now you might be saying to yourself, Bennett, is there a better way? Could we kind of basically do this a little bit better than the way we've gone through and have done it? The answer is yes. And how could we have done this a little bit easier? Well, in LIFO periodic, I know I have an ending inventory of 17,000 units. So if I say, well, if I went through and sold all of these items here, what would be in my ending inventory? Well, I'd have 10,000 units at 10 per unit for a total of 100,000. And then I would have 7,000 units left because remember, I took away 9,000. I'd have 7,000 units left at 12 over here for a total of 84,000, right? So my total ending inventory value is going to be 184. Very important, right? So if I come over here and I say, okay, if I didn't figure out this, but I knew my ending inventory was 184, then, oh, what's my cost of goods sold? Well, it's going to be my gas minus the ending inventory, or 810. Once you have one value, you can easily get the other one. But kids, don't try this at home. It's very dangerous, right? We want to make sure we're doing it, because you don't know which way the question is going to come. I would go through and figure out, practice doing both. And then when you get to the exam, whatever is going to be easier for you, choose that methodology. Okay, that is LIFO periodic. Remember, periodic, we are assuming all sales happened at the very end of the accounting period. Now, the very last one we're going to do is going to be weighted average periodic. And if we're going through and doing weighted average periodic, that we have the same things that are going to go through and apply, which is basically we need to take 51,000 units to cost of goods sold. My total goods available for sale are 994,000. I have 17,000 units in ending inventory, and we've got periodic, right? So with weighted average, periodic, basically what we're doing is we're coming up with a weighted average cost of our goods. We're basically going to come up with a weighted average, basically cost per unit. And then we're going to be going through and taking that and expensing it to cost of goods sold. So the way I'm going to go through and do this is I'm going to say, well, what was my total inventory cost? Well, my total goods available for sale was 994,000. That was the total amount of my goods available for sale. How many units available for sale did I have? Well, I had a total right over here of 68,000 units available for sale. So my weighted average cost per unit, or what was the average cost that I basically paid for these items, right, is going to be roughly a nice unround number. And we'll see why I did it this way. But here, we're going to go ahead and just assume round to two decimal places. At least that's what you'll do in my class, to 14.62, right? So we're rounding this to 14.62. When I go through and round this to 14.62, this is my weighted average. So 14.62 is my weighted average cost per unit. So what I'm going to go through and do on this over here is I'm going to say, okay, how many units did I sell? Well, we sold 51,000 units. So if I have 51,000 and my units sold, my cost per unit was $14.62 right over here. My total amount to cost of goods sold is going to be 745,620. So this is my weighted average cost per unit, cost of goods sold, periodic. I'm doing this. I'm assuming all sales happened at the very, very end of the accounting period. I need to take a weighted average cost of what was in my inventory. So I take the whole thing as in its entirety. So my cost of goods sold is going to be 745,620. Now, how many units did I have in my ending inventory? Well, I had 17,000 units. And if I use the same value, I'm going to come up with a little bit of a problem. Would be my tentative ending inventory. And the reason why I have a problem is because if I add up these two amounts, these don't exactly equal to my goods available for sale. Because, like, what happened? Well, what happened is that this is the true number, right? But that's cruel and unusual accounting punishment. So I decided to round it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say, okay, the cost of goods sold is 745,620. And then my ending inventory is going to be 248,380, right? However, we want to make sure that these numbers add up to my goods available for sale. Okay. So that is the periodic method. Now, before we go to perpetual, I'm going to show you something right over here with FIFO Perpetual. FIFO Perpetual yields the same result as FIFO Periodic. And why exactly is that? Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview for Perpetual. With Perpetual, I have to go to each individual sale date. Okay, so coming down over here, I'm going to each individual sale date. Okay, so under FIFO Perpetual, I still have to go through and take a total of 51,000 units to cost of goods sold. My goods available for sale is still 994. My ending inventory in terms of units is still 17. However, in terms of perpetual, the dates actually go through and matter, right? So the dates do matter. What does FIFO mean? Basically, again, FIFO basically means the first goods out are going to be the first ones that are expensed to cost of goods sold. Now, one of the things I showed you was that when I filled in this chart, whatever perpetual is or whatever periodic is, perpetual is going to be. So let's just kind of get a little bit of practice with perpetual, even though we know it's going to be the same number. So first in, first out. So I go and here the dates matter. It's like an episode of The Bachelor, Golden, whatever it is. So first in, first out, right? My first date of sale is 11/10/29. Okay. And on that date of sale, basically I went through and I sold 17,000 units. Okay. We're doing FIFO, first in, first out. So over here, what I'm going to go through and do is say, okay, where do I start? Well, I sold 17,000 units. So I need to take 17,000 units out of my inventory. So I'm going to start on 11/1/1/29. Those are the first goods in. My beginning inventory, 10,000 units at $10 per unit. Right over here is going to be $100,000. Okay. No, but I'm not done. I have a total of 17,000 units I need to take to cost of goods sold. So I'm only going to take what I need. I need to take 7,000 out of here. When I take 16,000 minus 7, I'm going to be left with 9,000 units. So I'm going to take on 11/3/29, basically my purchase. I'm going to take 7,000 units at $12 per unit, for a total of 84,000. This was 16. I removed 7. Why did I remove 7? When I'm doing perpetual, I have to go by how many I went through and sold. I'm going by each individual sale date. I started here, FIFO, first in, first out, used all those up, then went to my next date of sale. Let's go to the next sale date. On 11/15, I sold 21,000 units. So date of sale, 11/15/29. I sold 21,000 units. Okay. Again, first in, first out. So I come over here. I'm going to start with 11/3/29. I'm going to take the remainder of these units, right? So this is going to be 16 minus 7 minus 9. Okay. So this is going to go down to 0, right? So I have over here 9,000 units, but I'm not done. I need a total of 21,000 units. So I need another 12,000 units here on my purchase, right? So I sold 21,000 units, need 21,000 units to cost of goods sold. So here, need 12. I've got 14 here, so I'm going to go ahead and take, and we'll call this 11/15 sale. And to make this a little bit more clear, this was 11/10, and this was the 11/15 sale date right over here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take 12,000 units. When I take 12,000 units, I'm going to be left with 2,000 units. So coming right over here, got a total of 21,000 units. So this was at 12, and then this one is going to be at $14 per unit. Okay. So coming right over here. So over here, my total cost of goods sold from this one over here is going to basically be 108 plus 168. So now I'm going to go to my next one. My next one over here, I basically have another sale on 11/20 of 13,000 units. Date of sale 11/20/29, sold 13,000 units. Right, I sold a total of 51, but remember, when we're doing perpetual, we have to go in chronological order. We start with the earliest sale date, FIFO, first in, first out. Now I come over here to the 13,000, first in, first out. I've got this over here. I've got another 2,000 that I need to get rid of from 11 from the 11/20 sale. So right over here, my 11/5. So I had 2,000 units remaining from that, and I need a total of 13,000 units. So I need more, right? This isn't enough. I went over here. What's my next purchase? Oh, it's over here on 11/12. Over here, 11/12/29. My purchase over here. I don't need all 20,000 units. I just need another 11,000 units. Over here, this is going to be 11,000 units at 1650. Once I take this 20,000 minus basically this 11,000 units from 11/20, basically I'm going to be left over here with not with 9,000 units. Okay. So 11,000 units and over here 181.5. So when I add up the total amount of cost of goods sold, basically right over here, I get 669,500 under FIFO Perpetual. So over here, when I come over to this 669,500, oh, it's the same exact thing. So if you're going through and doing these questions, as you just saw, the perpetual method always takes longer. So what you're going to want to go through and do is basically what I would suggest going through and doing is do periodic and then go back through and then go back and cover the perpetual. So we're going to do LIFO perpetual next, and then we'll finish off the series with weighted average perpetual. Thank you for joining me here today. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great one.